Hi, everybody. It's Linda G, and I have our wonderful Andre here.
Hi, everybody.
Um, so listen, he didn't know about that drone, so I had him look it up, and right out of his mouth to God's ears. Well, anything Putin says, it's already a fraud.
It's true, though. It's true. It's Putin is like a lying machine. This is like, birds of a feather. Why do you think Trump is so aligned with Putin? It's like resonant energies. They recognize each other. We're two world-class liars, and that's how we live our lives. Trump has admitted it he admitted it to an American reporter that he loves disinformation. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, and I mean, Russia is like a machine of disinformation. They spend all their time,
First of all, the
deceiving.
drone is too small to have really done any damage. Second of all, that it could not have come from the Ukraine. It had to be inside Russia. And there's two guys walking up to the roof of the thing. It's just 2:30 in the morning. But here's the bad news, you guys. There are sirens going off as we speak for missiles coming. So I just think because you tell us what you heard. You heard that he said if they use a drone, that gives them the right for nukes, right?
Yeah, they're always making up these supposed rules that are in their whatever it is. Their constitution is more like the prostitution. I mean, come on, give me a break. They write these things down. Okay, so now when something happens, we can do whatever. Yeah, I can say that too. Where's the logic of that? Something about how if a drone strikes, we can use nuclear. Nuclear is a suicide mission. You use nuclear.
It's over
Basically,
for you and everybody else.
it's a major, yeah, you can't. It's not really viable. And I mean, other than that, I just look at Putin's chart. I wouldn't be confident in that. It doesn't look good to me at all.
I want you guys to know I sat down and did a real intense because I'm worried about my nephew Asa. And I was asking the higher realm as best as I could tap in. And while I was there as a test, because I do some testing questions, I said, how long till Putin's out of the picture? And they said June.
Well, June this year.
June this year.
June is a Saturn station. Let me double check that, but I'm nearly sure June is a Saturn station that is not favorable for Putin at all. Yeah, June Saturn stations, and that's not even the totality, but it's the beginning of continuous energy for 3 years that is misaligned in his chart around getting good results and around his health. And he hasn't been getting good results. It's really that simple.
That's why he's stupid enough to do that fake drone thing.
Yeah, but he's got to
the Pentagon said they would take it with a large container of salt.
Yeah, right. It wasn't even a grain. I know it was like a bag of salt.
Pray tonight, you guys, for the Ukraine. I just can't stand any more people dying.
Yeah, it's a really sad situation, and it's interesting though that you see that how the Ukraine has fractured the Republican Party because they're split down the middle around those who think they should defend the Ukraine under the broader umbrella of democracy, and then there are those who say no, the America First people. Like you can go back to 1940s. This was happening, the same thing. There used to be Nazi rallies in this country. I mean, think they were marching in the streets, with the thing with the swastikas, and then all those people ended up on the wrong side of it, and they lost their power, their popularity. Lindbergh was the biggest force that way. He was.
I remember that. Yeah.
Really,
and KKK people too.
Exactly. So to me, you're playing the wrong game. But in the meantime, unfortunately, we have to go through it, right? Because
oh, it's raining again. In the biography of Roosevelt on the History Channel, they talk about how he really had a hard time being able to work with everyone in the White House because they were all white supremacists.
Yeah.
The courts were and everything. And he had, they wouldn't let the Jews in. They acted like, oh, poor. That's why Hitler was laughing and telling the Jews, even America doesn't want you. They didn't stand up for anybody.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you mentioned the History Channel or any other channel where they're carrying that history, you will see all these echoes. It's really weird when you're watching it, how you think, oh yeah, I saw that last week in Alabama. Oh, I see what's going on here. Very similar themes, but themes that go nowhere. In the end, they go nowhere. The problem is that you have to go through some real problems in the meantime.
Right.
You have to. But look what's happened recently. for example, Tucker Carlson, he took that to the limit. He was saying it day after day after day. And now they caught him. I don't know if you heard that, the latest
They
revelations.
didn't want to catch him, but they caught him.
Well, the latest message, I don't know if you saw that, a text that they unearthed that had been redacted, where he flat out says something so racist and so insane.
He
that,
was looking forward to some kid being beaten to death.
yeah, and he said something like, white people don't do that. I mean, you've questioned with, why are you even saying that? White people, what are you talking about? Bad idea. So anyways, the Fox people were really worried that it would come out in court, making them look even worse than they already had looked. But the point is, the social pressure here got him out of there. We're not in 1930s Germany where they were tolerating this and elevating it and making it worse and worse. Here, there's a strong counterforce that says, no, we're not going to go that way. But then there's MTG and Matt Gaetz, running around saying things they shouldn't be saying, and we have to be patient, until it can.
Something's falling apart as we speak. I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene said they're fixing to impeach Biden. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
sure, yeah, that's going to
But
happen.
there's something going on that all the witnesses they had against Hunter Biden are dropping out.
Against Hunter Biden for what?
They were trying to come up with a bunch of bull on Hunter Biden.
I don't know. I mean,
And they're leaving. They're not coming.
but I mean, look, the Hunter Biden story. I mean, this
It's
is the
a
part
nothing
that,
burger.
yeah, because think about it. Hunter Biden emerged on the scene as a topic already before Trump left office because Trump was afraid of Biden. He's a smart guy. He knows his enemies. He knew this was the problem. So then they bring in his son. Bill Barr was the attorney general. If there was anything there, he would have gone after him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely. And they didn't do it because you know why? Because there wasn't anything there. It's a total nothing burger.
It's a nothing burger.
Yeah. So good luck, and they've been
Right.
threatening. By the way, how many months are we in now? We're 5 months in. Where's the Hunter Biden investigation? Where is it? I haven't heard anything. It's laughable. Totally.
So first of all, Gene, I got to sort this out with Gene, who asked, will Trump have to register as a sex offender if he is convicted? This is a civil trial that's going on now.
Mhm.
And no, he won't have to register because it's not a criminal trial.
No, he'll have to pay, which may be even worse because he hates paying.
And by the way, some more good news. He lost his case against Mary Trump.
Did he? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay, well, there
And
you
he
go.
has to pay all her attorney bills, etc.
Wait, now how did that one go? Was it him suing her or her
It
suing
was
him?
him suing her, probably for money or something.
Yeah, those are, yeah, he does that a lot, but I'm glad that he lost it because it's one of many, by the way. His legal landscape is brutal, and but you can see it. Look what's in the air. Look what
Right.
they're looking into. It's extremely dangerous. His summer, by the way, talk about summer. His summer is like Putin's summer. Not good.
Ooh,
Not good.
sweet talker.
Yeah, well, that's how that goes, right?
So have you taken a look at the governor of Texas?
I haven't in a while, but you know what I looked at in Texas? There's a new guy. His name is Allred, which is
Yes, I
funny.
read on him. Tell
It's
me
funny
what you
because
got.
he's Democrat, but his name is Allred, and Colin Allred, and he apparently is going to challenge Ted Cruz, which I guess he's now taking the baton from Beto O'Rourke because the last time it was Beto who challenged Ted Cruz. That one looks pretty good to me. There's no time on Allred's. All I have is the day. But just with the day, it looks really good going into 24, 25, whereas Cruz looks threatened. So to me, that's a potential change there. Getting that guy out of the Senate. Good candidate, yeah.
Good.
But as far as the other guy, I mean, I haven't looked at it in a while.
So he got something passed that they can, their attorney general can change votes.
Yeah, he's pretty radical. I mean, the way he handled that situation with that recent shooting, calling them illegals and all that. He's a heartless man.
Can
He's a
you
man
look
with no
at
heart.
him again next time?
I will.
we
I'll
have
take a
our
look.
thing?
I'll take a look.
Give us the 411, the honest to God truth.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when is the last time you look at DeSantis?
I haven't in a while, but remember with DeSantis, the key is that he's Virgo. And remember I said to you, Virgo energy right now, it's not a great time to run for office. It just isn't. It's difficult. It's a problem. This has happened to McCain back in the day. So it's interesting that as soon as we hit March, his situation went down, and it hasn't really recovered. He keeps stepping in it. Every move he makes complicates things more. So unless there's one possibility now in a couple of weeks, just when Mercury goes direct and Jupiter enters Taurus, that's a favorable sign for him. But if things don't pick up pretty quickly, he's toast. He's just not going to make it. He'll have to
Well,
pull
there's
back.
people out there want to give him money, and they said he just can't be bothered to call us back. So they said they're not going to give him any money.
Yeah, well, he's not a great politician. There are a
And
lot of-
he's going after Disney, and wrote in a book that he's doing it as a I'll teach them.
yeah, well,
They're
Disney's pretty
trying to
big.
be woke, and he's going to lose that lawsuit. I'm going to tell you right now.
Well, like many other things he's done, he's like someone who's a big fish in a small pond, and when he enters the bigger pond of the national race, he looks really vulnerable, and so put it this way: if he runs, he loses, and if he doesn't run, then it won't matter. I still try to wrap my head around, though, how Trump wins this nomination. It doesn't fit in my head because
Okay.
no, it's just so complicated. But if he makes it, great, because he's the perfect.
I say yeah, because
Yeah, no.
we'll win.
Run the guy, yeah, no problem. I mean, it's cool.
So we got a good question from Jocelyn Surdan. This question is for Andre. Astrologically, if a person has the sun, rising, and moon in the same sign, Libra in my case, does this make us more challenged in a difficult way than most?
Just on that, I don't get to know. I don't get to see the rest of the chart. But if I just based on that, no, rising planets are actually good planets in that they're rising. They're in the house of self. That's who you are. That's your personality. They're closer to you. There's no problem. The only problem I can think of is that Libra, being a very relational energy, it's the sign of marriage, so it's the sign of tuning into someone else. Sometimes it's harder for a Libra. It takes them longer to figure out. They don't have to constantly check in with other people. They don't have to always be asking, "What should I do?" You could just do something and see what happens, right? So it's the idea that you're too worried about what other people think, but usually in time you would figure it out, especially because it's rising, and rising energy is self energy. So no, there's no impediment there. Now you have to look at the whole chart, right? Because if I open up a chart like that and I see that sun moon surrounded by planetary trouble, that's a different story. So you got to see what the chart says, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Have you looked at Giuliani lately?
I haven't, but I have his chart in my mind. Giuliani is in trouble. He's got a problem.
Because someone said, will Giuliani be able to get out of the lawsuit filed by Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman for voting defamation in the Georgia election?
I don't know about that specific charge, but I know that he's not going to be able to get out of something big. How about that, right? That may be one of the suits. Something in there has him corralled. He's in trouble. He's in trouble because this is the classic case of someone that has repeatedly done things that are either really unethical or totally illegal. And now he's facing, I can almost guarantee you he's going to get charged by Fonnie Willis. I think he's one of those people.
Yeah. Fonnie Willis made a statement today that unfortunately, when people hear what this was already said by her grand jury, when people get a load of what's happening to Trump, what he's being pursued with, some of the charges, people are going to go nuts.
Where did you hear this?
Fannie Willis.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
But listen, so I took a look-see, and I see, believe it or not, and this is what I'm saying, you guys, entertainment purposes only, I don't see people in the streets acting out big chaos. I see people are tired of him.
Well, okay, you could say that. How about if I give you a different interpretation of that, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, think about it. Back then, like the ultimate people in the streets, because it wasn't the first incident. January 6th was one of many incidents. Like, remember that at one point Trump started attacking the Michigan governor, and then they rushed they created all that trouble. It was because of Trump. Trump was president. He says, let's attack the Capitol. They go and do it. What's happened since then? There are like 1,000 of them in jail, and many of them are serving long sentences, right?
Right.
And that usually gets people to think, do I want to go out on the street? By the way, why did they get incarcerated? Because they were on camera. How do you get on camera in the modern era? There are so many phones, everybody's on camera. It's a bad idea to do public crime.
Right.
Because why? Because the FBI and law enforcement frowns upon it. So stop telling me, like Lindsey Graham, if they charge Trump, there will be blood on the streets. No, Lindsey, there's not going to be any blood on the streets. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. No, I don't see it. I just don't. I think you may get some skirmishes, you may get some things, but no, I don't see that at all. You'll get people making noise, making threats. They're good at that, right?
They're really good at making threats.
And sending envelopes with flowers so that someone looking at it can think, oh, that's anthrax, but they never put the anthrax in there either. So
no.
Yeah.
So have you taken a look at anybody like Mark Meadows?
Well, Mark Meadows, I've said multiple times that I think he's, it's funny. Remember that expression that all those right-wing nuts like Roger Stone, they're always saying, "Oh, Hillary is in the barrel of the gun." That was the thing. Well, Meadows is in the barrel for sure. He's got major problems because he is implicated in all that went down on January 6th, and now you've got a special counsel that is obviously looking at the fine detail. What did Pence tell him? How did Pence spend an entire day? That's a lot of questions. You got to ask yourself that, right? How many times do you ask a question?
They said Jack Smith actually sat in at the hearing, the 5-hour hearing with Pence. And that he talked to Pence personally a couple of times.
Right. And I'm sure that Pence would be trying to finesse it and massage it, but you're in front of people that are smart about you trying to squirrel away, and they're going to come out. Remember, we saw those things in the January 6th committee where they were asking questions and they kept asking the same question in different ways to get the person to. That's what they do. That's what they get paid for. And after a while, by the way, he put it in his book. He said in his book. So really, it's only expand upon that, right?
Exactly.
Because from what I understand, you cannot convict Trump for January 6th if you don't establish clear state of mind. You have to prove that his state of mind was, I'm going to break into the building, which we all know it was, but he can create doubt or whatever. And if you get Pence saying, oh yeah, well, he was, he wanted me to, he wanted me to do it. I don't know if everyone saw, I'm sure people saw that film reel where they were showing Pence in many, many places saying, we had a good presidency, but it did not end well. And then another one, we had a good presidency, but it did not end well. And the very last clip is, hang Mike Pence, of course, it didn't end well. It ended poorly.
Yeah, so my question is, if astrology predicts our path, okay, is there a way that we can change the predictions for a better outcome?
Oh, no, totally. Yeah. No, astrology doesn't predict the path. Astrology predicts, it's like it predicts the road, but astrology cannot say with any deep certainty how you'll navigate that road. Like, the reason I say the things I say around prediction is because I'm looking at people's behavior. I see what they're like. I see what they did. And then I kind of go, well, okay, that's the prior criminality. Now the planet is coming in to collect, and you're just basically looking at a system of odds. It's like life is a giant casino, and I'm going, okay, wait a second. Smith is looking into it. Fonnie Willis is looking into it. He was there because we all saw it. Right. What are the odds, right? But any person, you could argue that even if the road is difficult, it's just a matter of knowing how to navigate when that's happening. Right. And then there's no problem, literally. And even your hardest periods can be the most useful because that's when you grow the most. You know this from yourself, what happened to you in your life, right? Something that looks really difficult can become the greatest blessing if you turn it the other way.
I also like how astrology can kind of tell us, prepare.
Yes. 100%.
You're looking, like if I say to you, I'm thinking of doing this, and you'll say, well, it looks real good next year at this time, but right now I would prepare or batten down
Yes.
the hatch and get your
Yes.
ducks in a row.
100%. Yeah. That's the deepest part of astrology is really hard to put into words because it's the idea of knowing your own chart and feeling the energy as it's happening.
Yeah,
And so you're constantly getting feelings and clues from the planetary energy, and it's real. It's not made up. I mean, people used to say to me, "Oh, you're just you're telling yourself that." Trust me when I tell you, you can't do this for 40 years telling yourself that. You would run out of gas doing that. There's a point where you realize, okay, I get it. I see what's going on here, and you're getting constant reflections. So then you get to learn how to use the planets better and better. That's the whole point, right? That
Right.
whether it's Saturn, Pluto, you understand what they are like, and you adapt yourself
Right,
to that energy, and
exactly.
you do it better. Yeah.
Have you taken a look, see, at the debt limit, or can you astrology look at the debt? Do you see America crashing?
Well, that's one of the puzzling things that I've run into because I don't see enough there for there to be a big crisis. So I think what is more likely to happen with the debt limit is that it blows up in McCarthy's face or it blows up in the Republicans' face and it doesn't turn out the way they expect because they're thinking they're going to turn it into a like a blackmail thing. If you don't do this, then we'll do that. But it's not a simple thing because they would also take all the blame. And I don't see enough there for the country to be in. No, I just don't see it. I don't see a crisis.
I felt like they're
No,
going to have to do it.
exactly. And I don't know if you heard that there's a Democrat that put in some kind of
Yeah.
Senate motion that will force the vote to the floor, and which would mean that Republicans would have to altogether bring it down, but it may be their only opportunity to pass it. And there are quite a few in that caucus that can't really follow McCarthy and MTG off the cliff because they'll lose their seat, right?
Right.
So it's their opportunity. If you're in a Biden district, right, and you won a seat, your best bet is don't go there. Just vote with the Democrats and don't go to the debt limit. And let the MAGA people scream. They're not your concern. Your concern is your district. So
Right,
I would
right.
think, yeah, that the odds are good. By the way, they have film, I saw it, of Trump in 2019 looking into the camera for once, speaking clearly, saying, well, the debt limit should never be challenged. And I don't know
Oh,
why
I
anybody
saw
would tell us
that,
that. Yeah, because then there were Republicans in charge, right? I mean, they're such hypocrites. It's unbelievable.
I know.
Unbelievable.
So listen, Ness wants to know what to expect for Pluto square Jupiter square Mars. Seems volatile.
Pluto square
May
Jupiter,
20th,
Pluto square Jupiter square Mars.
maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Because okay, you get Jupiter's in early Taurus, Pluto, and then Mars will be in Leo. Well, I mean, things like that. When you get an aspect like that, you can get some world event. You know, something that happens. For example, what you were saying earlier, something can happen in the war in Ukraine that gets ramped up, or you get like remember we had a train crashes all of a sudden for a couple of days. It was more than one. Things like that, but don't look at it as people are always thinking, okay, that one is going to be the end of the world. The world is a big place. You know, it takes more than one aspect like that, and that lasts about 2 or 3 days in terms of being exact, and then it moves.
I've always said I always felt Putin's doing something really stupid, and this could be it. This could be
Potentially.
it where he really hurts Ukraine, and then everybody starts stepping in.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible because the thing with Putin is that his cycles are they're not good. They're misaligned. His health is likely hurting. His judgment. I mean, it's pretty obvious that his judgment hasn't been good. Now, maybe our press is lying. I tend to think that the main press outfits they check their stories carefully, and so I trust when they keep saying there's a lot of rebellion out there because he's putting people in jail when they don't want to go to war because they
Right.
realize this guy's
And
a
a lot
scammer.
of them are out there on the field and they're not even fighting.
Right, exactly. So his prospects are poor. You know, you said this yourself. In a way, I've tied myself to Europe because you were paying attention to this before I was conscious of it. Remember back in late 2021, you started saying, Putin, I think, is going to do something crazy here, but I see him running. That's exactly what it is. You know, you can add more to that, but the guy's going to be running, I think. That's the
Where
logic.
everybody's mad at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fabulous woman. Is Pluto in Aquarius good for revealing secrets?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's good for Pluto and Aquarius because Aquarius is a technological sign. The Pluto and Aquarius fits really well with this thing they're talking about, AI and ChatGPT and all this kind of stuff, because there's an implied power, a kind of mega force that could be released, but that immediately gets you into the realm of secrets around technology. But that's worldwide, and Pluto's going to be in Aquarius till 2042. So, I mean, you're going to get a chance to really watch it. It's a long time. It doesn't get out of Aquarius for a long time. In the meantime, Pluto in Aquarius is most significant for people that are getting a contact from Pluto in Aquarius. And so, like the person that asked about Pluto, Mars, and Jupiter, that T-square in the sky, if you have planets early in Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, or Scorpio, you're going to feel them, and you're going to feel the potential event. Same with just Pluto alone. If you have something, early in the sign. This is why I'm wondering why it hasn't happened to what's his name? He's kind of in the background right now, but the liar, what's his name?
Giuliani?
George Santos.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I keep waiting for him to go down.
Yeah, because Pluto is roaming around his sun energy. So at some point there, because he happens to have something active in those early degrees, right? But if you don't...
You said Taurus. What was the other ones?
Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, the 4 fixed signs. So people that have either the sun, born on that day, or planets there would be affected by that. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Has all the recent planetary, this is from Janice, planetary activities been responsible for the recent craziness people are doing? Like shootings because someone pulled into the wrong driveway?
Well, okay, so that I would look at there are 2 levels. One is that there's been a long-term disinformation, the thing of the way the NRA plays and the number of guns and so forth. That's a longer cycle that already started back as early as 2011 and so forth. But more recently, if you want to look at this year as being extra bad, there have been more killings. The Mars is the most combative, violent planet. It's been out of bounds for quite a while. And so like when a planet is out of bounds, it means it juts out and makes itself more noticeable. Mars would be a dangerous planet for that, because when you think of a weapon, any weapon, Mars, whether it's a sword where you're stabbing something, or a knife, or a gun where you're killing someone. Right. So if that's true, I can't remember when it gets out of bounds, when it comes back in bounds. I think it's the middle of the year, so it should abate some. But the thing is, even if it goes down some, we're in a long-term pattern. The statistics tell you that it's like we're getting 1 a day now, and maybe it goes down to 1 every 2 days. It's really, really, really bad. Yeah. Here's where I am hoping, and it makes sense. I said this a few times ago, that it's an astrologer that did some research pointing out that Saturn in Aries, which is where it goes in 2025, 2026, is a period when you get gun legislation, gun control, things that come in to restrict it. I don't see how these AR-15 survive, because all these killings are because some guy picks up an AR-15 and starts blowing people away, in a matter of seconds.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's totally stupid.
What can we expect with Pluto retrograde?
Pluto retrograde, it's not all that different, really. The standard definition is that it goes into the background for a while until it goes direct again. And it's more important to think about, when it goes retrograde, it's going to spend the whole rest of the year in late Capricorn instead of Aquarius, because it's only in Aquarius for about, I think, 9 weeks, and then it comes back into Capricorn, right? So it's more that it starts affecting the Capricorn energy again. And I think what that's going to do is probably it lines up well with, how that election season, especially as we start to get toward the summer and so forth. And an example of that particular position of it being really poor for someone like Trump, because late Capricorn misaligns terribly with his chart. And so that's one example. But I wouldn't put too much, short answer is don't put too much thought into the retrograde cycle of that. Yeah.
Right. And so when you look at the charts, I mean, do you see who, with all these new GOP people signing up, do you see kind of a forerunner or no?
What do you mean new GOP?
Someone who could possibly win the GOP primary.
I'm not getting any so far. The only thing I can't seem to, wrap my head around is
Trump.
that it looks pretty obvious that Trump would be the candidate, but it's very possible, I think, that what could happen here is Trump gets so stuck on all the, and he gets such bad press because why do you think Trump is so angry about being charged? Trump knows very well that if you start getting indictment after indictment, it looks terrible. So then the possibility of another person jumping in and getting the attention of the voters increases. Right? That's and some readers have said this, that they see neither DeSantis nor Trump being the nominee.
It could be something like Asa Hutchinson or somebody like that.
Some other person, yeah. It's just that the problem is their party is so entrenched in this MAGA BS that it means if you don't talk crazy, they're unhappy with you. I mean, ask Fox, Fox is losing viewers to all these other crazy outlets. I mean, it's nuts. It's completely nuts.
Have you had a look at MTG at all?
MTG is in a bad zone. She's in a bad zone. Remember I said this last time too, that once we got into the spring, especially April, May, it doesn't stop. And she already got in trouble, some by opening her mouth, and it didn't look very good. I don't think it's the last problem you'll see. You're going to see more problems with MTG.
Good.
And by the way, there's where you can read it through that and anticipate, because MTG is very set on doing crazy things, bringing the government down, all this insanity. And when you have Saturn blocking you, it means it won't happen. And so then that's same with McCarthy, right? The logic of it being blocked, and that's why I think the debt ceiling thing may be a canard, as an example. Right. Yeah.
Oh, I got to tell you, Carrie Lake did on Twitter. She was saying she had a big, huge announcement to make. Something exciting. How much you want to bet Trump is considering her as VP?
I could see that. Sure, I could see that.
They're not going to win, but yeah.
It's the thing is that this is to me where people just have this knack sometimes of losing their wisdom, because if you don't know instinctively that you should never get near a guy like Trump. Trump destroys everything. Everything that comes near that guy dies.
Including his attorneys.
Yeah, no, and so then she'll damage her career permanently, because then people will say, oh yeah, you were that, I mean, what excuse is there for what you were doing? So
it's like all these actors saying, nobody will give me a job because I'm affiliated with Trump.
Yeah, no, and the thing about Carrie Lake, that I bet you Trump is thinking about this, because Trump doesn't want anyone to upstage him.
Yeah.
And she's a performer type, and she talks too much, and there's a danger of her somehow becoming more important in some way, which he hates. So I bet you he's thinking twice about that before he hires her.
Well, I know MTG isn't his look.
Yeah, what told you that?
I just know.
How did you figure that out?
She'd love to be as VP, and so would. But the thing is, the one thing she has going for her, like with Mike Pence, if he comes to a full stop, her head goes all the way up. Yeah, well, he just raves about him.
Even so, though, who are you talking about? MTG or Carrie Lake?
Carrie Lake.
Carrie Lake. No, no. She's all in. She's decided that she's going to, all her eggs in one basket. It's remarkable to me. Just completely remarkable.
It's just so weird. A woman who voted for Obama.
I know. It's beyond, and the logic that, you see, what starts to happen here is he keeps saying the election was fake. She said her election was fake. Neither of them is getting any results in court. Zero. What's going to happen over the next number of months? This message is going to get repeated over and over and over. The big lie didn't happen. In court, they keep losing everything. How long do you think this is going to be working well for you? It's not. It's a bad plan. By the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm remembering your chart. What? She's another, I believe, early Virgo, I think. and so that's another problem because same as DeSantis,
Okay.
where,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
which is not a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Well, that pretty much does all the questions. We did about 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, we'll see now what happens next. And
I'll see you next week.
all right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.